From the Warhammer Imperium magazine, collected short stories narrated by J.H. Miniatures. At the request of Inquisitor Draxos, the Soulless Cohorts. Location, Coronar System, Nephilim Sector. Population, 250,000. Status unknown. Threat level, Alpha Extremis. Scout report H44436 Coronar. Coronar and Ferran systems report Necron activity. Adeptus Astartes Strike Force dispatched. Reinforcements pending. Awaiting situation report from Strike Force Command. Ultramarine Spearhead Task Force 11 en route from Althan. Diagnostic. Necron Warrior. Sentience unknown. Suspected nil. Xenotech recovered nil. Data. Pick logs. Field reports. As regards the inner workings of the Necron race, the Omnissiah has blessed us with little information of worth. It seems Necron warriors form one of the lowest strata of Necron society. Their commanders pay little heed to their safety. We suspect that they are no more than automata. Without the presence of a Necron commander, warrior units appear capable of defensive action at best. They may still form a phalanx and will attack non-Necrons, but they are incapable of forming complex attack plans without assistance. The Necron race's tendency to phase from existence upon destruction has rendered further investigation of this theorem impossible. Picked capture of Necron warrior, Saracen dynasty, Third War for Damnos. The icy industrial world of Coronar is assailed by the Necron legions of the Saracen dynasty. Determined to conquer new territory, noble Necron commanders summon their soulless cohorts and advance upon the frozen planet, determined to claim it in the name of the Silent King. The monolith cracked open, metal grinding upon metal as its obsidian walls split, revealing a yawning cylindrical chamber, its centre lit by sparking arcs of green lightning. The chamber crackled and snapped, and from its glowing depths skeletal forms stepped forth. One by one they stalked out into Coronar's soft blue light, the green glow of their vacant eyes and thrumming energy weapons casting a sickly hue across the crisp snow. They moved ponderously forwards, with their shoulders hunched. Locked in step with one another, they arranged themselves in glistening ranks. Some bore scars upon their living metal forms, imperfections from countless years of conflict. They stood in line, guns raised with no hint of movement, waiting for the command or sensory input that would trigger them to action. Ahead, the blazing engine trails of Space Marine vehicles could be seen, along with the familiar emerald beams of Gauss weapons. The battle had begun. Through the portal stepped another figure, larger, broader, and festooned with the gilt symbols of the Necron race. The Ankh of the Triarch on the being's armoured chest glinted in the moonlight, a Necron lord. The noble leader glanced towards the ongoing battle, clutching a war scythe in one metallic hand and rotating a shining orb in the other. With a flick of his arm, he raised the tip of the war scythe and gestured to the conflict ahead. His cohorts would have a share of the glory this day. "Cohort advance!" he growled. The words were unnecessary. The order had already been issued, transmitted by the command nodes built into his metallic form. The habits of the flesh died hard, even for a Necron. Incapable of speaking a word in response, the silent ranks of Necron warriors burst to life once more. They marched forward in perfect unison, metallic feet making a crunching sound as they trudged relentlessly across snow and ice. As they approached, the forms of their foes resolved themselves in the darkness. The familiar power armour of Space Marines. Once again the Necron Lord barked an unneeded order in his native tongue. The commands entered the android minds of his cohort. Advance and destroy. The command protocols of the Necron warriors reacted to the Necron Lord's signal almost instantaneously. Impelled by the order, they raised their weapons. Presented with a rich array of flesh and blood targets, the warriors' visual receptors began to feed targeting information to their neural networks. Seconds later, 10 beams of unerringly accurate Gauss flare fire lanced out into the darkness, striking the Space Marines, atomizing flesh and ceramite alike. Caught unawares by the Necron reinforcements, the outnumbered mortals turned to meet the threat, bringing their own weapons to bear. The Necron warriors' dulled minds knew no fear, and they made no attempt to evade the punishing fusillade of bolter fire. Some were struck, their living metal bodies splintering. The chrome substance from which they were formed bled out across the frozen ground. The bodies of some damaged warriors began to knit back together, allowing them to rise and fight once more. Other Necrons were damaged beyond repair, shattered by explosive weapons and the sword blows of their Space Marine opponents. The bodies of these destroyed warriors flickered out of existence, teleported back to their tomb of origin to be readied for battle once more. Those that remained standing continued to lumber forwards, joining their fellow androids in pouring fire toward the Space Marines from all angles. "Destroy the mortals! Let no vermin despoil Necron territory!" shouted the Necron Lord. The Space Marines refused to be cowed, screaming their fury as they leapt into the ranks of soulless Necron warriors, felling them by the dozen. Yet still the Necron Lord urged his troops forwards, heedless of their losses. The Gauss fire consumed the remaining Space Marines in a furious storm of crackling green lightning. As the last of the Space Marines fell, the Necron warriors halted once more, their Gauss flares lowered. Without a command to guide them, their automatic subroutines took over, and they were drawn together into their silent phalanxes. The Necron Lord gestured with his war scythe, pointing to a cluster of human buildings in the distance. "Onward!" he cried, cloak billowing in the wind. "Let us bring glory to the Pharaon!" And there you go. There's the third story then in this series. It is hard to know how to change the voice when doing, because there's a section here from the Adeptus Mechanicus, and that's always your traditional beep boop, I am a robot sounding voice. And having heard audiobooks and things before myself in the past, it's not something that you really want to sort of, put into the actual story, because it can be distracting, it can be irritating to hear. But then at the same time, how do you sort of miss it? You don't want to skip over it. You don't want to do the story a disservice by not trying to sort of inject that in there, because it's a part of it. Advance and destroy, destroy the mortals, let no vermin despoil Necron territory. These are words spoken and commands issued digitally and electronically, and sort of, they shouldn't just sound like a normal voice, right? Anyway, go on. That's the third video of this series. 28 left to do. The next one and the next two are small, but then from 6 onwards it's Crimson Doom, which is the long one. So we'll look forward to that. Alright boys, in the next episode. Bye for now.